delighted to say that I'm now joined in the studio by Greg Swenson, Chair of Republicans Overseas. So you're going to get a taste of an American accent live from here, Talk Towers in the centre of London. Greg, welcome.
Great to be here, Russell.
How you doing?
Great.
Yeah, I should say, yeah how you doing? Let's talk about what's going on in the United States. Trump's first week has been a busy one, I think it's fair to say. Executive orders left, right and centre. But in particular, I want to talk about one of them that seeks to cease the birthright. So in other words, if I think undocumented, unlawful immigrants are in the United States have a child, at the moment that child would get United States birthrights. They would become a US citizen. He is attempting to halt that. But there seems to be an element of the judiciary, back to the point we were making just now, where, you know, perhaps, I would argue, an overtly liberal judiciary is saying, oh, no, we think that's perfectly okay to come over here as an illegal immigrant, have kids, and they then have US citizenship, which is probably why most of them come over in the first place. What is this about? Yeah,
well, I think part of it is whether it's constitutional or not. And you know, you can have a view, and in fact, the judge who actually stopped stopped it yesterday was a Reagan appointee. So you know, it's not.
So he's on the right.
It's not necessarily partisan, although a lot of Reagan appointees ended up disappointing later. You know, even at
they pretended to be right wing and actually ended up being left wing.
That's right, and so they sort of change over time, but. In this case, it's typical with President Trump. Everyone on the left and in the corporate media will call him a racist, and he's, you know, anti-immigrant, all untrue. And you think about the countries that Jennifer Ewing pointed this out, a friend of the show, that since 1980, Australia in 2007, New Zealand, Ireland, France, India, UK, and Portugal have all done the same thing. Nobody called them racist.
Well, no one. I don't remember any media calling that out. So what's he done exactly? So it's preventing illegal immigrants coming over and having children and them being automatically American citizens. But judges, and actually this judge, I guess, representing multiple states. I think there's a number of states which presumably would be generally left-leaning Democrat states.
They typically are, and but these districts are funny. The judges in certain districts are completely leftist, and that makes it really difficult to get some sort of law through the courts or changes. However, you know, the argument might also be that the president just can't do this, and it's
because it's against the Constitution.
It has to be run through Congress, and that's what Biden was accused of quite a bit, and he was wrong almost all the time. He was doing things that you know, by executive order, that he couldn't get passed through Congress. He couldn't pass a law.
So just to be clear, in terms of
is go to Congress.
So in terms of the US process, an executive order from the president, of which Trump has ordered many in this first few days since he was inaugurated on Monday, doesn't, forgive the saying, doesn't trump the Constitution, Congress, Senate, and the other executive arms of the US legislature.
That's right.
So he can't just do what he wants.
In some areas they can, in some areas they can't. You know, so the border, because it's the border and it's sort of national security, there's a lot more power in the executive branch for a president. Whereas something like this, you know, birthright citizenship, that might perhaps have to go to the Congress and be passed. And so,
and to Supreme Court potentially.
It ultimately will get to the Supreme Court.
Which will take ages, take years.
You know, it could. They're funny. They can move things up to, you know, into the front of the queue, and they typically meet in the summer. So it could take until June.
But of course, look, one of the reasons Trump is doing this is presumably as a deterrent to illegal immigrants.
Absolutely.
So there's an element of politics here, an element of prevention. So on the other side of the aisle, why would the Democrats favour there not being a deterrent?
Because they're Democrats, because the party's been taken over by the radical progressive left, and so any time they can get illegal migrants into the country, they'll take that, in spite of the sex trafficking, in spite of the fentanyl that's killing 100,000 Americans a year.
It mirrors what we're doing here, and under actually the previous government, is inarguable, but certainly under this. But why do the left favour this? All refugees welcome, no matter who you are or what you've done, whether you're anonymous or not, you're all welcome. Why are they so fixated with that philosophy?
One argument is that they're future Democrat voters. The other is that they increase the population so that when the census is taken every 10 years, so the next one's in 2030, there'll be greater populations in the sanctuary cities, the blue states, so there'll be more congressional seats and more electoral votes. And
but
if
it's
it's destructive to the country, they don't care.
Well, and
they don't mind
this
that.
weird fixation here that all immigration is good from an economic point of view, which isn't. Before you go, JFK. So this is fascinating. So the assassination of JFK was 1963.
Yeah.
So we're a long way away on from that. It looks like Trump is going to order today the release of all of the documents relating to that. Very quickly, what do you expect to see?
I suspect it could be disappointing.
You just think nothing?
It could be.
So why have they been held back for 60 years?
Because that's the way they are. They like to keep things secret. I mean, look what happened in COVID. They censored any
What's
any
next?
argument
The UFO files?
about. It could be next. But look, they don't want the people to know everything, and that's what happened with the lockdowns.
Trump being populist,
censoring the Great Barrington Declaration.
Trump being populist here, I think. So, Greg, look, wonderful. Thank you very much.